Hey, what's up? This is Chosen, and in this video, we are going to get you caught up for Raid Shadow Legends because we have got a guaranteed legendary event. If you watched yesterday's weekly kickoff video that we did on the channel, I was saying to expect either a 10x or some sort of guaranteed summoning event this week because there's probably not going to be a 2x event. Looks like we're going to be getting a guaranteed champion event for Archbishop Pinthroy, and we may also get a 10x as we head into the weekend. So what we're going to do is dive into this and decide if it's going to be worth it to YOLO some shards here for Archbishop or not, and get you caught up on the rest of the news going on in game as well. So let's get into it. Alrighty, so first of all, just a couple things to note on how this works. And by the way, the 150 shard requirement is perfectly normal. I believe they did, the first one they ever did was for Countess Licks, and that was for 150. I think that was the first one anyway. But then they also, I think they did a weird one that was like 111, like 111 for Vizier or something. But typically, it is going to be 150 Ancients for the guaranteed summoning events. And the way this is going to work is not going to reset your mercy system. So if you pull 150 Ancients and the only legendary you get is on the 150th shard, you finally get Archbishop, but you got no legendary during the other 149 shards, you will still have a mercy system that is super close. You'll be within 50 of your mercy system on your ancient shards. So just keep that in mind. It is not going to affect your mercy system at least. Which means theoretically it's kind of a pseudo 2x because you're guaranteed 2 legendaries within 220 ancient shards, and that's if your mercy system is currently at 0. If your mercy system is not at 0, if you're already at like 50 or even 100, then you would be guaranteed 2 legendaries within 100 shards basically. So it just depends on where you're at on your account. But if Archbishop is a good champion, because it doesn't affect your mercy, it may be a good time to pull mystery or ancient shards, but that's what we're going to go into. Okay, so Archbishop Pinthroy is going to be a legendary support from the Sacred Order and is a very new champion to raid. So let's do a quick refresher course on the stats and the kit here. We've got HP, attack, defense, speed. All the stuff looks pretty standard, honestly. You've got a 60 base between resistance and accuracy, which is normal, and he does need accuracy, so it's nice to get that 20 bump. He's not a damage dealer, so you don't really have to worry about the attack, the crit rate, the crit damage, and the 20k, and then almost 1200 defense, speed of 101. Everything pretty par for the course in terms of the base stats. For the A1, we're going to have attack 1 enemy, transfer 1 random debuff from this champion to the target, and then also a 75% chance of stealing 1 random buff. So anytime that we steal buffs on a default, that is on a default A1, that's super strong because you're not only removing it, but you're placing it on yourself. Then we've got the A2 that's going to place an increased accuracy buff on all allies for 2 turns. This books to a 3-turn cooldown, by the way. And then we're going to do an AoE attack. Place a 100% heal reduction debuff on all enemies for 2 turns. Also, a 75% chance to place a block buffs debuff on all enemies for 2 turns. And then if the champion is Demon Spawn, Undead, or Knight Revenant, they cannot resist those things. So there's a little bit to unpack here with the A2. First of all, this stuff can be booked to a 100% chance. The only one that has that percent chance, though, is going to be the block buffs. Obviously, the placing the accuracy on your allies doesn't have a percent chance. And then there is no chance on the heal reduction. It's just going to place it. It says place a 100% heal reduction on all enemies. So there is no chance. The only one that is affected is going to be the block buffs, but block buffs is super impactful. So if you've got one ability here with a 3-turn cooldown, that's going to increase the accuracy of your whole team by 50%. And then also the main selling point is placing that block buffs on all enemies for 2 turns on a 3-turn cooldown. That's a pretty amazing A2 here. Also, when you couple it with the 3 factions in the game that cannot resist that. Especially when you take into consideration that Demon Spawn and Undead have a lot of really good champions. You've got Duchess, Kymar, Siphi, Rhodos, Mashaleh. There's other ones I'm not mentioning, but there are a lot of really good champions that you're going to see very commonly from Demon Spawn and Undead. Night Rev have a few decent ones. I'm trying to think off the top of my head here. What's coming to mind is like Soulless that you might see in the arena for a legendary, and then you'll see a lot of like Skull Crowns, obviously, especially when you're farming up gold for and stuff. But anyway, let's move on to the A3. We're going to have a heal all allies by 30% of their max HP, which is unfortunate. You typically like it to scale with the support champion. That way you can really build for it. But that means he's going to do a lot more healing with high HP compositions, but high defense compositions, that healing is going to be tougher to remove, so it's a little bit more impactful. So you got to kind of weigh your toughness options there. Then place a 60% increase in defense on all allies. So another way that it would kind of double dip and work really well with high defense teams. If 4 or more allies are alive, also place shield buff on each ally for 2 turns equal to 30% of their max HP. This books to a 4-turn cooldown. So a lot of toughness there with the heals, the increased defense, and the shield coming down from that. And then a passive of remove all decreased defense debuffs and weakened debuffs from this champion at the start of each turn. So this guy is going to be very sturdy, hard to place some of those debuffs that would help you go ahead and remove him from the battlefield. And then ally accuracy in all battles by 50. So then for summary on this guy, I do think he's going to be pretty solid. I could see him making his way into some of those tanky defense tag team arena compositions. Maybe not be like meta for platinum arena or anything. You've got like your 10 or 12 champions that are super popular there. He might not break into that, but he's also going to be very solid for the Hydra. You've got block buffs is insanely valuable for the Hydra. You're going to increase accuracy, so you can maybe build your champions with a little bit more toughness and less accuracy because you've got this guy buffing it pretty consistently. If you build him with high speed, he's going to be on a 3-turn cooldown, basically keeping that up permanently on the allies that are slower than him. And then you're getting the defense, the shielding, the healing. Yeah, so with the A1 constantly removing buffs and placing them on himself. So I think he's going to be pretty solid in the Hydra. Maybe A plus, maybe not quite S tier, but getting up there. He's definitely very good in the Hydra. So if you're struggling on getting into the normal and hard Hydra, remember you need about 3 teams available to have success in the Hydra. I think this guy would be worth it and definitely make it into one of those squads for you. So then the all-important question of, do I recommend going for this guy or not? You know, typically my answer is that for most of you out there that are progressing, maybe your early game, mid game, it's going to be the best value over time to pull during a 2x, unless the guaranteed champion is something like Sify or Duchess or some hyper account changing champion. I don't think this guy is that. I don't think he's a hyper force multiplier account changing champion, but he is very solid. So I do think he's a good champion to collect and add to your roster, especially if you're struggling in the Hydra or you're trying to build some super tanky defensive teams for progress in the tag team arena. So I think it's going to come down to you if you have the resources. Like for me, I've been playing for 3 years, so I've got some resources available. I've got 128 ancients, and I could gem it for the last few there. So it probably makes sense for me to go ahead and add him to my roster. If you're super new, it might make sense to hold off for a 2x, but he is solid, and you're still kind of getting a pseudo 2x because of it not affecting your mercy. You like I said earlier in the video, you are basically pulling during 2x. You're just getting a lot less epics. So if you're in a spot where you don't need the non-void epics anymore, it probably makes sense to go for this guy. But if you are in a spot where you still need to get all of those faction wars teams done, you still need the miscreated monsters and the VRASKs and the stuff like that for faction wars, then maybe hold off for the next 2x instead. Because it is also worth noting that ancient shards are going to be the next 2x as long as Plarium goes with the normal rotation, because we just had 2x voids and it goes in alphabetical order: ancient, sacred, void. So we're going to go back to ancients. I expect 2x ancients to be live in about 10 or 11 days. So keep that in mind when you're YOLOing a bunch of ancient shards for this guy. Ancients should be the next 2x here in 10 or 11 days. I just want to make sure you are armed with that knowledge, and then you can make your decision based on how you want to run your account. Then if we move on to what's going on in game right now, besides the summoning event, we've got the tournaments, champion training going on. We talked about this yesterday, but there is a legendary 6-star chaos ore up there for grabs on the guaranteed reward side of things. Just keep in mind that you've got CVC starting about exactly 1 week from now. So before you YOLO a bunch of resources, do make sure you're prepared to do well in CVC. And then tomorrow we'll be having a Fire Night tournament starting as well. Then if we dive into the events side of things, we'll see that the only thing going on today is going to be the artifact enhancement event, and it would make sense to at least go for the 6,000 to get the epic chaos ore. And then if you really need that epic tome, it would obviously make sense to get the next 1,000 after that. So if you've got the silver to do so, definitely worth kind of scooping this stuff up here today. But make sure you don't go broke on silver before CVC is live, because you'll want to help out your team and be able to get some of those tier rewards as you're spending your resources. And we have also got a brand new batch of clan quests that just went live today. So the way I like to do this is go through and take one of each tier. That way my teammates still have an opportunity to go through and claim ones that they like. So I just take one of each and then we keep it moving and focus on that over the course of the week. And it is also your last day for this weekly rotation of the Hydra, so make sure you get your keys spent today. You've got the Artifact Enhancement event, the Champion Training, and then making sure you spend your Hydra keys today before they expire. As long as you're doing I know a lot of you don't do the Hydra. It's insanely hard content, but at least maybe if you're hitting normal or hard or whatever, or just to see kind of the evolution of your account, you're going to want to make sure and spend those keys today before they reset to a new rotation and you lose them. Now we can take a look at the shop and see what is going on in here. So obviously the ancient shards are going to be kind of the hot offer right now with the guaranteed summoning event going on. So let's plug this in. We've got silver of 375. Okay, and then we've got the 200 gems, boom, and the 5 ancient shards. And boom, it's a 1.6. So not looking great. It is a string pack here. So it'll be like 10, 15... 20. Okay, so yeah, all in all, it's not going to be that great, unfortunately. For some of you high spenders out there, maybe, but for those of you that are looking for really good top tier offers, I don't think that's going to be one of them. Then we've got the Doom Tower kit. Let's go ahead and plug it in. So let's clear this out. We've got silver of 1 million. Okay, and no energy, 200 gems. Okay, and then the tomes are going to be 2 and 2, and then we're gonna go 2 of the 5-star chicken. Boom, a 1.99. So yeah, see, it's a purchase limit of 2, so that means it's probably gonna be decent. It's all right, it's just not amazing. The rank 5 chicken pack, I don't have to plug this one in. I know it grades out as about a 2, and it's going to be a lot better for beginner players than endgame players, but typically, if I'm going to spend this much money, I would prefer to at least get some shards in there. So I would prefer the monthly pack over that one personally. And then, okay, so that looks like, okay, nothing super amazing going on in the shop today, unfortunately. So alrighty, that is going to do it for this one and getting you caught up on the Archbishop event going on. If you'd like to come say hi on stream, I'm probably going to YOLO for this guy. I think it makes sense for where I'm at on my account, and I think I would use him in the Hydra for sure. So I'm probably going to YOLO some shards for this guy. I will leave a link down below in the pinned comment to my stream if you would like to come hang out and enjoy the shenanigans of me yanking some shards for the Archbishop here. But otherwise, have a great rest of your Tuesday, and I will see you soon. Peace.